Right, so this is about the limit I'd like to take with the tree ferns. So these are totally unprotected at the moment. I've got several tree ferns around the garden. I use this one as an example because it's totally out in the open, so it's exposed to the most amount of frost. But no protection in that whatsoever. And we head down to -3. So I think today I'm going to stick a bit of fleece in the top there. Just scrunch a load up and wedge it in there once it's defrosted, and yeah, leave that in there for the next few days, because we are due for frosts, I think, for at least 4 or 5 days, until we start getting a little bit of a, I won't say warmer, but less cold, a little bit milder. But what I want to do is just have a look at the fatsias, because not all fatsias are the same hardiness wise, and a lot of people say, oh, they're pretty much the same. Well, they're not, in my experience anyway. So the first one we're looking at is the spider's web, and the leaves are sort of frozen, so they do tend to droop down a bit. That's a natural thing. They will bounce back once they falls out a bit. So I've never had any trouble whatsoever with the spider's web. So it does seem pretty hardy. I'd say it's pretty much as hardy as the standard green fatsia. So that's quite an attractive form of fatsia, which quite readily available now. We'll move on to the variegated, which is what this one is. Only small, it's not heavily variegated. You have to excuse the apples. I haven't had a chance to tidy them up. They've just dropped off the small apple tree there. So yeah, again, we've got the leaves sort of drooping a bit. Again, totally expected. Again, I've not really had an issue with this. You know, it's quite a small plant. Again, I've got several different fatsias along here, all quite small, sort of similar size when I planted them. So it's a good indication of the hardiness levels between the different species. So spider's web seems pretty solid. I've never really had any damage on the variegated either. So let's just go around the palm shelter. And we've got the standard green here, which has been flowering. So, I mean, you might be talking of fractions of degrees here, but the green is always going to be the hardiest. That might just pull through, and you know, when everything else does die, that's the one that's going to survive, if any. But again, we don't really see anything drastic enough to kill any of these off, I don't think, hopefully. So yeah, the green is always going to be the hardiest. So that sort of leads us, let's do the polycarpa next. So this is a fairly small one, which is always sort of hidden up in the summer by the fuchsia bush here, but again, I've never really had any issue with the polycarpa. Some of the leaves do brown in the spring with the continual sort of freezing and defrosting, but the plant itself, not too much of an issue. But the one I have had issues with is this one, which is the camouflage. So again, we've got a tag here. That is the actual species, and most people just call them camouflage, due to obviously the pattern on the leaves. But this one last year, even though we had fairly mild winter last year, this whole top section did die off. So this is telling me this is nowhere near as hardy as basically all the other ones we've covered. So it's died. We've lost about 3 inches of the top growth, which totally died off. and at the time I thought the whole plant might die because that's the main growth point here. But over the summer obviously we had some side shoots come out. We've got 1, 2, 3 side growths come out. Is there one at the back there as well? Yes, there is. So we've got 4 side shoots coming round. So this is sort of a position where it's sort of died back, but not totally dead. So it's shoot from the side, and therefore it's probably sort of branching out earlier than it probably would have done in natural conditions. So already this year, with these 3 nights of frost we've just had, it's probably colder than anything we had last year. And again, this died off, this top portion died off last year, so we've already had colder than we've had last year. So we'll see how that one goes. That's the one I'm going to be watching. So they're not all the same hardiness in my experience, and like I say, we have got basically most of the species of Fatsia all along this fence, so in the same sort of position, same exposure, and different levels of growth rate and hardiness. And just on the last note, that we have got another, you can see I'll climb in it. So we have got another Fatsia. This is again the variegated, and this is not actually frosted. But they're still looking quite nice. This is under sort of a double canopy of the tree ferns and the big cordylines. So I think, in conclusion, not all Fatsias are the same hardiness. Some will take more damage than others. Standard green's always going to be the hardiest. Polycarpa, I think, is pretty much on the same level, but sometimes you do lose a couple of leaves, especially in the spring. They tend to brown off. But the one to watch is going to be the camouflage every time, because that's just not quite as hardy, and that is purely down to my experiences. Like I say, growing these Fatsias all in the same position, all different types, and they've been in the ground about 3 years from very, very small plants. So we can see again the growth rates difference as well. From obviously this has died back, but it's still only maybe about 14 inches tall, whereas the green, standard green, is already double that. So the growth rates are different, obviously, with the more fancy types, and the hardiness level is going to be slightly less. But don't let that put you off, because these are really attractive plants if you can find them. This one's quite a hard one to get hold of. Right, it's pretty cold, so we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.